Good morning. It's Marty, the JavaScript party. I'm my buddy Rhett. I'm in Marietta, Georgia, Eastern time zone, 8:17 a.m. Based on my analytics, I think there are very, 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 very few people that watch this video. Well, I guess that's the case. Very few people watch these videos. But of those people that watch those videos, probably almost none of them live in the U.S. And if they do live in the U.S., I guess there's only like a 1 in 4 chance that they live in the Eastern time zone. So it is a different time for you. Um, we are hot. We're in the middle of summer. It's July 11th. So mid July. We are mid July, everybody. And it is probably like, I would say, very, very close to 80 degrees Fahrenheit outside. Let's see what this says up here. Oh, it says it's 72 degrees Fahrenheit outside, which is a very comfortable temperature, but it felt much warmer than that. So I clicked the little temperature thing. Yesterday, regular news came up when I clicked the temperature thing. Um, let's see, there we go. 83 degrees. Yeah, that probably seems about right. 83 degrees with the little F for Fahrenheit. So that is that. We're working on unit tests. I've never, ever, 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 ever been a fan of unit testing. I always thought it was a mistake. And every fear, as part of like, since it just won't die. Oh, here. My buddy Brett wants her nut. You want your nut? Is that what's going on here? There you go. So I've never been an advocate for unit tests. And the reason is because it really does take your eye off the ball. Like when you're working on unit tests, it's easy to lose sort of sight of how the overall application works. And that is absolutely true. Not only that, but you actually lose your sort of passion for the application, the actual application. You get more focused on just like the very fundamental foundational parts of very atomic levels of the application, and it gets you highly, highly focused on that. So, and that is actually played out. And I would say that I've been working on this project for 7 months and 11 days. I bet at least 3 months of that has been just almost exclusively dedicated to unit tests. Now, you could say, well, it's because you don't practice unit tests, you don't do unit tests very often, so of course it's going to take a long time. But I would also say that I also added end-to-end testing, which I had absolutely zero experience with, and I haven't spent nearly as much time on end-to-end testing as I have on unit tests, and the end-to-end tests are awesome, are absolutely awesome. So, but the conclusion that I really have sort of stumbled into is that, well, at some point, you've got to get highly focused on how the actual functions work, and that, and it's easy for that piece, like you just get it working and just move on because you're worried about adding or deleting a feature, and you're not that worried about um, how okay, it works fine, move on, right? But like you can only do that so far before the whole application just sort of implodes on itself. um, it's probably like a lot of times I'll see where they're building like a big skyscraper in Atlanta, and they just spend months and months and months and months on the foundation. And it's probably because if you don't get that foundation right, everything else is going to fall apart. Um, well, the foundation of an application, unlike a building where once you're done with the foundation, you're done with the foundation. Foundation of application is its units. It's the functions, and that never goes away. You might get to a point, I guess, when an application gets uh, to a certain spot, maybe you don't add new functions and stuff very often. Um, and I don't know. We'll work on that, but I mean, we'll sort of observe as we move on. But yeah, this has taken a long time. But I do think, on a personal basis, just for me as a human being, as a computer programmer, I have gotten a lot better. because of unit tests. No question about it. There are definitely some ruts and some sort of habits that I picked up over my last 50, 45 year, 50, 47 years of coding that I realized because of unit testing, oh, that's probably not the best way to do that. But I just gotten into the habit of doing it that way. Um, and unit tests sort of exposed that for me, so I definitely appreciate that. And it has actually discovered a couple of functions, well, maybe just one function that just wasn't doing what it was supposed to be doing. It just wasn't. It was supposed to be doing something, it never did it. And the fact that it just sort of didn't work on the application. A lot of times when you're building code, you work in several parts of it and you sort of accommodate a problem in one part with something in another part. So, like, you can't have too many of those in an application as it scales up, or you start to have real problems. Um, Very, very difficult abstract issues that are very, very difficult to decode. So anyways, I've got 100% in all of my files, but I have one file that doesn't. And I guess we can take another look. It's got 118 lines of code, and 140 lines of code. 118 of them are covered. Uh, and covered just means that a test moves through that code. It does not mean that it tested that code. It just means that the test includes that as part of itself. I have 24 branches and 15 of them are covered, and I have 38 lines. No, what? Oh, 140 branches. Oh, functions. I have 38 functions and 34 of them are covered, and I have 140 lines and 118 of them are called. So the lines and statements are the same. I guess now that I kind of think about it, the lower the number of branches, I think, is like, not always, but in most situations, it's the lower the number of branches, the better. Complexity, if you have a lot of branches, the complexity goes up. The major exception that I've seen over time is like if you have like a keyboard mapping or some sort of mapping with like thousands of, or with dozens or something of different choices. A lot of times it's better to have a branch than to have like a function for all of it. But anyways, so let's go ahead and click in, and it gives us the focus on this one and focus on this one. And I guess this does sort of match up with like that concept. Like, we're looking at the overall thing, it looks good. As we dig in, now it looks awful, right? We're down here at the lowest level and we see all this red, and we see these weird branches and stuff like that. So the overall application looks good, but this is sort of a wart or a little weirdness that we need to adjust. Now, I think yesterday there was a function that gets covered, but it's not really being tested, and I had decided I wanted to test it, which is a departure from when I first started this, because one of the things is like, I'm not going to fixate on testing things. I'm going to fixate on just getting coverage. Getting coverage is better than not getting coverage, but I guess testing things specifically is better than just getting coverage. But there is a time cost that you really have, analysis that you really have to do. So it looks like I want to get the horizontal sort visualizations. So I guess that's what I was doing at the end of this. So it looks like it's this function here. This thing takes a list of visualizations and then it returns an array, but it's been sorted horizontally. So that is what we're doing now. That's its only job in life. So let's go ahead and, so I don't always know exactly what I'm going to do. So, but like, I usually know the step I want to go into. And the first step I think I want to do is definitely create these mock visualizations. Now, I think in general, it's a very, very good habit to always not to there's a concept called dry, do not repeat yourself. That dry concept is almost always, like in all aspects of software development, an advantage. I do not think it's an advantage in unit tests. I may change my mind in the future, but at this point in time, I do not think it's an advantage to do it that way. I think it's a disadvantage to do it that way, because if you make a change and you have a function that sort of accommodates that change for everything, you sort of lose that, hey, these are all, like unit tests, one of the nice things about unit tests is they kind of tell you, hey, you just made a change and these are all the different places that you might have a problem. I think you lose that if you have like a function that does things. So I'm manually going to create 3 mock visualizations, 1, 2, and 3, where 3 is the one that is the farthest to the right. So I don't know, like it's hard to know like if most people watch these videos in general or if they just get one, but basically, if for just some context, let's see, the whole application should have built out by now. Yeah, so localhost 4200. And we add, this is a visualization. So we have a mock of one of these things. We'll add another one, and we now add another. So this is kind of like that, but I think they're like actually like 200 apart, and this is the farthest right one. There's no guarantee that the farthest right one will be the last one. That they could be added in any order, especially once we start deleting them. And deleting is the feature that we just add, that now we're deep down in looking at individual pieces of the overall delete functionality. All right, so I want to have a function, a array, and I'm gonna make it a constant. I may change it, and original list, and I'm just gonna make it an array, and it's an array of visualizations, st visualizations. And I'm going to say mock 1, mock 2, and mock 3. So basically, we have this, and it's in order from the farthest left to the farthest right. So the first one is at 0, the second one's at 50, the third one's at 100. Now, I want to call this function get horizontal sorted visualizations, and I want to pass it this array. So I'm going to just say original viz list. See, no complaints. The IDE is perfectly happy at this point. Now I say it equals service, because we're working in a service, and that's what the system made. Let's see, get horizontally sorted visualizations, and that is equal to original viz list. So basically I want to get it and I want to sort it and return it. But why? Why is this upset? And it's because this returns a new array. It doesn't return the original array. So sometimes when you run functions on arrays, you can do this, and sometimes you can't. So I'm going to say const. I'm going to name it sorted viz list. Now, I think it's important to sort of think through, to take a good, tight look at these things. But I don't know how important it is. And it's time consuming. So, you know, I just have mixed feelings. So basically what I expect now, so we're going to write our expectation function, and I expect original viz list and the 0th one dot st left dot 2 equal 0, right? So in that, the very first one is this one, and it's left it. So I expect sorted viz list 0 dot st left dot 2 equal 100, right? So if it actually sorted it properly, it would equal 100. Now I will say that this sort comparator, I get this wrong all the time. I can never figure out exactly, like I just can't really visualize how this is supposed to work. So if it doesn't work, it's very likely that I need to do it the other way around, where this one is minus this one, but I don't know. So hopefully it works. We don't have any failed tests. Now we could have, so it did fail, and it was, the first one was equal to 0. So I don't think this is right then. It looks like that code is incorrect. So let's try reversing that. This is line. So, and when I fix this, let's say this one passes, the other test is going to fail because I created another test that tested that it would return the left one to the, and A and B. Yeah, I'm very confused on why that didn't work, but again, I have to sort of admit that I don't understand this sorting. It's always been sort of a blind spot in my knowledge. This is, what line is this? This is line 331. Okay, so what I want to do, actually, before I do that, because I don't want to get sort of confused by the previous ones. F. So this should only focus on the one test. Yeah, one failed. Because see, this one's going to break as soon as, if this passes, then this one will break. So, I mean, either way, when I change this, the previous unit test is testing for the wrong thing. And a lot of times you have to sort of build out things kind of before they really are sort of rendered on there. Okay, it's still working. Okay, so it passed. So clearly, let's just double check that this unit test makes sense. So in the original, we expect left. I'm pretty sure that part passed. And then, well, we know that part passed because the test passed. And then in the sorted version, we expect the first one to be 100, and it wasn't. So that code wasn't working. So we literally, this unit test exposed a problem. And I will say that it is screwing that up has been a constant in my career ever since that sort function came out. It's weird to me, sort visual, yeah, I don't know. I kind of really want to think through this. So I give it a, wait, is that right? Did I have it? Because that does look right to me. Oh no, B left. See, that's weird. But the sorted less, we want the very first one. Oh, I guess by default the sort is from smallest to largest in general. Like that's see none of that makes sense to me, and it just never has, and I don't think it really ever will. There's just like so many flip flops that happen in my brain when I'm trying to figure out why something is sorted. But I think what we by the natural thing would be from smallest to biggest. So if I want to reverse it, I need to give, I don't know. I think they botched that. I'm not 100% sure. But now this comparator is going to be broken because I reversed it and I was unit testing it. Yep. So now I think this should be negative 50. And I don't have to so I was able to do that without really thinking through everything. I just like am like, oh, okay, so it should be reversed. But basically, we were returning the B left. So when I send 3, this is the first one and this is the second one. I should get a negative 50 back because that's the difference between mock viz 3 and mock. Wait, okay, so that's still not right. I think it's supposed to be negative 100. Oh, so I think what we were supposed to do is reverse the sign. So again, the thing that the unit test is truly exposing to me is how little I understand this sorting, this sort algorithm. I get it to work. I absolutely get it to work, but I don't understand it. And it's good to know that. It's good to be like, okay, like it's good to know where your blind spots are. Um, so, anyways, so get horizontally started. So that was, we had that completely wrong. I coded that completely wrong. And now, because of the unit test, it's right now. Um, I could imagine it being like caught that something's wrong. I mean, kind of narrowing down and just swapping it and never thinking about it again and committing it, checking to see that whatever was working works and never really thinking through it again. So that's the most thought I think I've ever put into the way these comparators work. I think if I kind of went through this exercise maybe 10 more times, it would just like I would understand it. It would just like it would be what they used to call grokked. I think the grokked word has changed meaning because of the product name grok, but anyways. So it's 8:40, so I still have like 15 minutes. All right, so now we're back up to get a next available right. So basically the name isn't quite accurate because we're actually getting the farthest right, but the farthest right. But at this point, I feel like the farthest right and the next available right, that we can kind of consider those to be synonyms. May not always be able to, but at this point, I'm seeing that as like the next available right is also the farthest available right. That is not always going to be the case, maybe, because it is possible that what I'll have is a, like, let's say we add these, like maybe I delete these two and I have a big space in here, so maybe the next available right is here. But right now, I'm saying if there's anything that's all the way over here, you're what the next available right is to whatever is the right of the farthest one to the right, always. That's how I'm seeing it at this point in time. All right. So we have this working, and oh, okay. And so yeah. So now I have a sorted visualization, so I don't have to do this. I can know that the farthest right visualization is the first visualization, right? So we're kind of back to this. Now I have a memory of working on this, and that's on line 307. Okay, const rightmost which is an ST visualization. I worked at one place that just forced us to do this. And not only did they force us to do this, but like they didn't really make their developers. I was a contractor. They didn't make their developers do it. They only made the contractors do it. And then whenever us contractors would figure out how to strongly type something, then they would then they would then they would have their developers go in and see what we did, and then they did it. So so I got really good at this. This is much harder. Strongly typing things is much harder than you would infer from watching me do it. It's just that I've done it. Spent thousands of hours doing it. So get the right visualization viz. Since the array is sorted, it is the first one. It's not ideal, and we are kind of inferring that since it's sorted, it's the first one. There's an inference there, but you know, that's fine. And then basically the next available right would be the width of the current visualization plus the width plus the left position of the rightmost visualization. So basically it's like, okay, let's refresh this. So when I add one of these, it's right here because the rightmost visualization at this point is a 0, and then its width is like 200. So that puts it right there. Now it's right here because this is here and this is there and all that. Now this sort of like coming back and getting context and all that stuff is sort of what's lost normally when you're working on unit tests. You don't really go back to the application. You just sort of focus on the units. I'm mostly going back because I'm assuming that a lot of people watch this. Like, so generally like 12, anywhere between 5 and 25 people will watch this video. I don't know how many get far in, you know, how far they get, but I'm assuming of that 5 to 25, only like 10% saw the previous video or the previous videos. So like I got to try to make this sort of make sense on its own. This video makes sense on its own, even though it's part of a series of videos. So anyways, that's why I'm doing that. Okay, so the next available right is the rightmost viz plus its width. So basically const right, I guess we just say right is equal to, and I guess we only do this if, I guess we only do both of these if the sort of visualization, if there are visualizations. It is possible that there aren't any visualizations. Right, so like 3 and 4 don't even make sense if there aren't any visualizations. It's just right. It's just 0. is equal to dot left plus dot width. All right, so now we don't even need, so this code, which is sort of like infers right based on like looping over it and just sort of, it's kind of like, I don't know if you ever worked with XSLT or something like that, but it's just kind of like, hey, I'm looping over things and just finding it and running operations. I guess CSS is probably kind of based on this sort of logic, but I'm trying to move it into a more narrative type of code, because I think narrative type of code is easier to understand. All right, so now we're copying this. I don't know if get available right is already unit tested. It looks like it's unit tested. But it doesn't look like we ever run a test on this while it's doing it. Now, at this point, the easiest thing to do is just come in here and just see if it still works. So yeah, everything still seems to work. But it doesn't look like we are actually unit testing this stuff. And then, okay, so I don't know. I guess it makes sense to get rid of this code now. I don't know. I just want to keep it just in case something is not right. I feel pretty confident about this code. But I guess, well, yeah, I feel pretty confident about this code because it's still working. It still works with the actual application. 8:49. Still got 6 minutes. 6 minutes to party. It is Friday, by the way, and Fridays are awesome. And I have actually some very interesting work to do today at work, so I'm really looking forward to that. Now, the big question to me is, should 2 even be in this, or should it be kind of absorbed by get right visualization? Or does it make more sense to actually look over row siblings instead of the sorted visualizations? So to me, I think this makes more sense to go row siblings. And I'll be honest with you, I don't even know if I would have ever even had this thought if it wasn't for unit testing. Right? So obviously if row siblings, if the rows has nothing in it, or has something in it and we don't get anything back, that's weird. So now I think that is good. And then I think it makes sense to say, it feels like all 3 of those could go into one function that just returns the right. All right. I feel like that's like all 3 of these should just move into their own function called get rightmost from list, get rightmost from siblings, which is kind of what the top thing is doing anyways. And I guess just for sanity's sake, we should make sure that this stuff still works. And I don't think that most people do that when they are unit testing. I think most people actually just like kind of ignore the application. For me, it's a habit because, I don't know, just something I picked up over time. All right, so something definitely feels like I would rather these 3 go into their own function. but I guess that is, I don't know. What am I doing? So that's getting me the right, get rightmost. I guess what, okay, at the very least, it seems like I want to, um, at least, it seems like I want to combine these two. I don't know. I kind of like how it is. Okay, so anyways, I guess I'm going to declare victory on that. And I'm just going to delete this. And then hit save. And I do think that this is better. Info assumes that the next right is furthest right. Create the new list visually. Create a new, I guess it should be sorted list. Oh, largest to smallest. So I guess we could have also created it smallest to largest and got the last one. Um, get the first one, and then the next available is the rightmost one. And so then we want to run a unit test that actually does this. And I guess we actually have sort of the um, framework, schematic, whatever. We know exactly how to do this. So get next available right. And I think we want to do the same thing again. Up to that. Now, I think our mocks, though, need to also have a width. If they don't have a width, we'll because it needs the width in order to define. Let me hit reload. It needs to be able to do this thing, st rightmost width. And really only this guy needs the width, but let's just go ahead. I wonder if it's of value. It seems like it's kind of a value to just do this. Or 50. Because it's kind of like, oh, those other two don't matter, but I guess it doesn't. It's a little emotionally jarring to have it where the other two don't have it. So, but I think it does pass some good information that, hey, now we care about the width. And then 8:55. So I got to go when we do this tomorrow. Actually, I guess I can just run it, though. It'll be fun. Let's write, next write, available write is equal to service dot get next write, and then pass it our original viz list. I guess it's just a viz list, but anyways, we'll just run that, and I can worry about that tomorrow or not worry about that tomorrow. I don't think it really matters. Did it? I don't think it was done running. Okay, yeah, so now we got full coverage. We should have a warning, though, that it has no expectation, so I can finish that up tomorrow, and then I guess I don't even know why we get the farthest left. But I guess I'll worry about that tomorrow. See, and that's the thing is like here, I think it is pretty clear. I mean, I just worked on it. I think it is very clear what we're doing here. Here, I have no freaking idea what we're doing. I know we're getting the farthest left. Don't really know why. I do know why we're getting the farthest right. So I do think this sort of narrative way of doing things is a lot clearer than this sort of inference sort of way of doing things. We are doing a bit of an inference here. We're just inferring that it's in the zero, but I think the inference level of the code has dropped dramatically. Anyways, happy coding, everybody. I hope you all have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend. Bye. Happy coding.